All right. Welcome, everybody. It is 10 o'clock, so I think we're going to get started here. Thank you so much for joining us for another esports webinar presented by ByteSpeed and Gravity Gaming. Before we get started here, huge shout out to Intel for helping to sponsor the webinar and some of the other activations that we're doing with MNVL, with some of the other states that we're working with. So just wanted to real quick say thank you to Intel for their support. For all things Scholastic Esports. We've got a really cool, 45 minutes to an hour planned. Want to talk about Scholastic opportunities in the state of Minnesota. Seeing the state championship that just happened and all of the great momentum that's carrying in the state moving forward into next school year. ByteSpeed, we wanted to really capture some attention for the great things that are happening in our backyard. And with us today, I've got an amazing guest, and I'm really excited to co-present. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Knutson. I'm the Esports and VR Solutions Director for ByteSpeed. I've been with the company for about 3 years now. It's my 3-year anniversary was last month, actually. And before that, I was a college esports coach over in North Dakota at the University of Jamestown. So kind of been around esports since 2016 and helping schools start their own programs for about 3 years here at ByteSpeed, like I said. But really the star of the show and my co-presenter here, I'm going to let introduce himself. Jake, do you want to just kind of let everybody know who you are and tell us about your story with esports?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Jake Utities. I started the first high school esports program in Minnesota back in 2017. Had some success there, and since then I've been helping to build the high school scene in Minnesota. I've met with probably around 50 schools and helping them start their programs. And then in 2019, I created what is now the Minnesota Varsity League, which is a league, high school esports league for Minnesota. Minnesota schools. We're sponsored by the Minnesota Twins, both professional esports teams in Minnesota with Torrent and Version 1, as well as some other partners involved. We had 47 schools compete last season and 1,200 members. So members are coaches and players. And we have grown pretty much at an exponential rate over the last 3 seasons, which has seen us go from 10 schools to 47, 91 members to 1,200. We expect that to continue to grow, and hopefully some of your schools who are watching are interested in this, and I can help you out, and we'll have you in MNVL soon.
Definitely. Awesome. And thank you so much, Jake, for joining us today. So here's kind of the plan for the next, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour. I really want to just hone in on the state of esports in Minnesota. We'll talk about, what MNVL actually is, some of the history and kind of the reasons why it got started. Talk about some of the competitive opportunities, the different seasons that you guys run. Reasons and how to join, and then maybe some plans for the future. And then the last kind of 10-15 minutes, I just want to briefly touch on some of the stuff that ByteSpeed has going as far as resources for schools that are wondering how to start or how to help out their programs moving into next school year. So just real quick, Jake, you talked a little bit about kind of where MNVL started, but I would really love to kind of get the history behind, why it was important for you to start this organization, who helped you in the beginning, what was the goal, and kind of, talk about the very, start of Minnesota Varsity League.
Yeah, for sure. So the story kind of goes like this. We were we competed our first year with the High School Esports League, HSCL, which is a national group. And there were some downfalls of that league that we wanted to try to create something for just Minnesota that was a little bit more robust. At the time we were able to, we wanted, there was problems with forfeits. So we were seeing a lot of forfeits in that league. And then we were also having it wasn't as fun to compete against teams in Texas that we'd had never heard of before. So there was 10 schools that season that had high school esports programs in Minnesota. And we worked together as teachers and coaches to throw together the very first league. I took the lead on that. I built it out off of spreadsheets. We ran League of Legends, Fortnite, and Overwatch. ran those games for one season. We were doing in-person games at the T-Wolves facility downtown, and people grew to really like it. By the end, the coaches and coordinators were saying, "Hey, we want you to continue doing this. If MNVL is running esports in Minnesota, we're on board to compete." So after that season, COVID hit, and that was some fall 2020. And MNVL or esports was the only high school after school program running that I was aware of in the entire state during the fall of 2020, which we could do completely online. From there, essentially what happened, I was a teacher. I taught at St. Louis Park. I was running this in my after hours. I got recruited to be a consultant for a company called Wisdom Gaming Group, which is a esports company now based in the Mall of America. At the time, there was only 4 of us. Now it's a company of around 70 or 80 employees. We have grown substantially in the last 2 years. And I was able to, well, I had to make the hard decision of discontinuing my teaching career to at least pause it until to try to start and build Minnesota Varsity League. Basically, what ended up, so now this is my full-time job. I still have an active teaching license. I still coach at St. Louis Park. I'm still on their advisory board there, so I'm still very much ingrained in education, which I think is very important, an important aspect of our league, especially in comparison to other leagues. And basically what happened was we blew up on TikTok. We had some Rocket League clips go viral on TikTok, and in one season we went from 10 schools to 33 schools. That was a lot of work being put in to try to help those schools start their programs. And from there, like I told you, we have grown 33 to 40 something. Now we're at 47 active competing. We have about 60 on our platform, and with a lot more building their programs as we speak. Minnesota Varsity League as a whole is kind of like the entire support system for esports within Minnesota, at least academic esports. We, like I was saying, support and help programs open their start their esports program. So everything from, if you've never done it before, we'll take you through every step. We'll get on several meetings with you. Some schools it's 6-7 meetings, helping them open and start the program. We of course do that for free. We are essentially zero cost to our schools and students as well. Our sponsors currently pay for all registration fees for our teams, so we are 100% free for our schools and students. So that leads into, we are also the league. So we run scheduling, competitions, for Minnesota high school esports. We run 6 titles currently. We have already announced that we're adding 2 more next season. So League of Legends and Smite will be added to us next season, as well as the 6 that are on our website, mnvl.org. We run competitions for those for an entire season. We have an all-stars weekend, and then we have our state tournament, which has just recently moved to LAN. So last weekend we ran our first LAN at the Mall of America, which had 230 competitors. About 1,000 people showed up to watch, and it was something really special to see the students finally competing in person. Yeah, Ken, big news. League of Legends just got freed up yesterday, and we are going to be running it. Other things that Minnesota Varsity League does is, of course, we have tons of different services and programs. We have our partner colleges, so there is a long list of schools that offer collegiate scholarships that your students can look on our website and connect with. We have all the contact information, as well as every game that they offer scholarships on on our website. We have fundraising initiatives that go out to our schools, because we know fundraising and actually having funding for our programs is a big challenge in esports. Every challenge that we see our schools face, we try to tackle. So another thing that we're working on over this summer is trying to help figure out additional coaching services for our teams. We're trying to figure out a way that we can support the broadcasting of your games, so it's not just us. We broadcast 4 nights a week, so kids can get some exposure when they're playing their matches to the entire league. But we're also building out a broadcast structure for every school to be able to broadcast their games, as well as one large hub for all those broadcasts to be in one area. And yeah, essentially, that's the history of our group. It is slowly grown. So it is run by myself. I'm, of course, an educator, and a large group of students. We have like 9 or 10 students working on all things from social media to production, stream broadcasts, to those who are casting our games. We have rotating internships for quite a few MNVL students. So most to all those students are paid. The only ones who are not paid are our casting interns, who then get to work with Doa, who has had 10 years of professional casting experience, is well known in the professional space for having casted Overwatch League, LCK, is currently the host of the Rainbow Six Professional League and Teamfight Tactics. So we also provide a lot of opportunities for our students as well. So kind of an all-encompassing, student-focused, educator-run league for Minnesota high school esports. That's what MNVL is.
I love kind of that last sentence that kind of pulls it all together, because I think with MNVL is kind of unique in the fact that it's doing a lot of different things. There's a lot of the other great state organizations are a little bit more focused on like maybe just competition, or maybe they have a little bit of curriculum here, or a few resources, but like MNVL is really, kind of all over the place and really an all-encompassing umbrella. And I think that's really unique. And I think it's a ton of great opportunities to get involved in a lot of different ways, which I think just lends itself to, opening up membership to even more people, which is super cool.
And if I could just add too, one thing that I
sure.
really like about our organization is that it is essentially run by you, the coaches, and you, the schools as well. We just had our end of season meeting where major decisions for next season are not just made by myself or my team. They're made by vote of all the coaches in the league. So we make sure that you have a voice and a say in the league that you're competing in too. So not only are we kind of run by educators, but all of our major decisions are made by you, the educators, as well. So we try to make sure that we are in touch with what you need, and we work on the things that you as schools need most. And that's our priority.
That's awesome. Is there anything, you already kind of touched on 2 of the games that you're adding for next season, but is there any kind of like big picture plans for the next year or 2 that you can share with us today?
Absolutely. We're looking to continually expand our schools. Every year we see a monumental growth as we get bigger and bigger and bigger. We'll start looking at new structures for our seasons. But of course, that is going to be voted on our coaches. Do we move to a class and section-based system? Eventually, you're going to want to play against the schools that you're used to playing against. So as we get more and more schools, we will move towards that. Virginia's kind of alone up north with Bemidji and International Falls right now. But as more of my hometown schools in Duluth start joining up, I'm sure we'll be able to create a system that more mirrors the Minnesota State High School League. And the kind of rivals that you're used to playing against. We have some major decisions right now that aren't made yet. So whether one big one is, do we run all of our games every season, both spring and fall, or do we split those up so that it makes our coaches have less esports to focus on each season, and you can be more involved as a coach. But the big things are new games, hopefully bringing on some new partners to give us more opportunities. All of our partners we choose based on good opportunities they give our students. Of course, the Twins is the most family friendly brand in all of Minnesota. They gave away like 140 Twins tickets to our viewers this season.
Wow.
The pro teams brought pro players out to our LAN, and they got to actually be with professional Rocket League players and actually play some games with them, hang out with them, get autographs. We've done virtual field trips and physical field trips with our pro teams. So we are continuously looking at new experiential learning opportunities for our students. We're looking at building in esports curriculum and getting a curriculum partner. who will help create esports-based classes for our schools to actually kind of get you more involved in that. Of course, we'll have more internships, more broadcasts, more opportunities to play, and more games moving to a varsity structure as we see esports become more and more established in the state. So
Awesome.
big plans are adding new games, making sure our state LAN and our in-person events get bigger and bigger. And then trying to, speaking of LAN, we see that opportunity is really important for kids to play in person. So a secret initiative that I haven't announced yet, but I'll announce now, is we are going to be working to have partnered MNVL locations where you can actually work with them to play your matches in person. So a good example of that would be Concordia St. Paul's College. They have a big esports lab there. If you wanted to play your MNVL matches in person instead of online, you could go to Concordia St. Paul or our studio at the Mall of America and play your matches in person. So that will be another initiative we're working on as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we're kind of jumping into a little bit more into the competitive stuff. So could you touch, Jake, a little bit on kind of how the seasons are structured now, and talk about the titles that are being played and how game day works, and just kind of run down, like, if I'm a new school to MNVL, what can I expect like this fall as far as competition is concerned?
So kind of the structure where it goes down is that we would onboard you into the league and teach you all the processes you need. Basically, you'd be using two primary systems. One would be a group called League Spot, which is our scheduling and basically our tournament platform where you find your matches, you connect with your opponents, and you record your scores. All esports leagues, no matter what league you're in, relies on that structure where you connect with your opponent based on scheduling and the tools that we give you to connect with them. You add them in game, get into a custom made lobby, take a screenshot at the end and report your score. That's basically how every esports league runs, and that's how we run as well. The other platform is Discord, which every gamer knows. That's how gamers connect and talk to one another, and that's how we update the league with all important information, as well as contact our coaches should there be any issues that arise. So we onboard you, and then you use that platform to register your teams before the league starts. We have 2 weeks of preseason. Preseason is very important to coaches so that you can tell who is committed and who is not. Teams that are not committed through preseason get dropped. Those teams that do play their matches in preseason get then moved to regular season. We have an 8-week regular season where you play one match each week. Those matches differ on timing. Each game has their own default game time. So for example, chess was Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. You are able to reschedule your matches as long as they are not part of a varsity league. Currently, only Valorant and Rocket League are varsity titles. Varsity matches are not able to be rescheduled. We treat those like a varsity sport. You can't just go and ask to reschedule your basketball game, except for under extenuating circumstances, national or school-based holidays. We allow reschedules in varsity. After our 8-week season, we then have one weekend for All-Stars, where we invite top players from the league to play some fun game modes. And then after that, we finish it up with the state finals, where we invite top teams from each game to come compete at a LAN. LAN would be your local area network. It's a gaming term for an in-person event. As you can see in the picture on the slide right here, that was our in-person event, and you see our Rocket League champions hoisting the MNVL state trophy. Our current titles right now are Rocket League, Halo, Minecraft Bed Wars. I love that title. Chess, Valorant, and I'm spacing out Super Smash Brothers. We are adding Smite and League of Legends for next year. Those are confirmed, as well as we're looking and seeing our coaches survey for what other games, if there's games with lots of interest that we're able to run, our coaches vote and we will run those. Basically, our motto is if there's 8 schools that want to run a game, we'll run that game. If there's 16 individuals who want to run an individual game, we'll run that game. As long as the developer allows us to do so. So right now, it looks like next season, 8 confirmed titles and potentially a couple more. How game day works, pretty simple. At your scheduled time, you're expected to check into your match 15 minutes before, up to 15 minutes before. When the team captain or coach will check in their team, then you will message your opponent and say, hey, this is my name, add me in game, or here's the lobby ID and password, please join with your team. Both teams check in, they both join the lobby within their game. Kids, I guarantee, if you're new to esports, how do they do that? They will know whatever game they play, they will know how to do this. And we also have instructions in our rules and on our website. They play the games according to our rules. So how they set up their lobby. The nice thing is that in esports, the referees are coded in. So based on what they set for their lobby rules, those are what the rules of the game will be. And then when they're done, they take a screenshot of the result and they report their score with that screenshot. It's that simple. Then it's time to get ready for the next week's game. They'll be able to see their schedule for the entirety of the season, except for in some game modes like Super Smash Brothers and chess, where we run a Swiss, where people with the same record are always playing against each other. That way we know who the top players in the league are. So that's kind of how game day works for us. The only difference would be if you sign up to be on broadcast, our broadcast team would connect with you and we would put a spectator in there and you would be on the MNVL stream playing in front of about 100 people. Usually around 200 to 300 unique viewers watch our streams each night. And if it's at the state finals, it's closer to 2,000 unique viewers. So you get to fill out your stadium with kids, with people watching your kids play.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And as far as like checking into games and doing all that, that all happens in League Spot and Discord to get in touch with the other teams and stuff.
Yes, and League Spot is a website, so your school network will allow it. Discord, your school network almost certainly will not allow, but that is mainly used for you to organize and manage your players in a distance based scenario. So in that case, you basically tell the kids to put it on their phone. I guarantee it's already on their phone if they're in your program.
Yeah.
If they're in esports, they have Discord. That's a guarantee. So
yeah, awesome, cool. And then I know you talked a little bit about like the state finals and stuff. Is it just a once a year kind of live event, or is there regionals, or is it just state? Can you talk about kind of what lands your guys are running right now?
That's a good point. Currently, it is at the end of each season. So fall and spring are our seasons. I didn't touch on that, but fall preseason is going to start October 3rd this year, and go to the finals, which are January 7th and 8th, or 14th and 15th. That depends on the coach decision.
Sure.
The spring titles, springtime usually is March through May. And so we would have two large in-person events at the end of each of those seasons for the state championships or state finals. We have to call them state finals for some of our games. And we will run basically tournaments for all the games that we ran that season. There are some questions about how that is going to be split up next season. And the coaches are currently all voting on that right now. So like I said, the big question is, do we run all of our games both seasons, or do we split them up? And that's the big question coaches are answering. In the future, I see a world where there will be regional like sections. We do divisional championships for our varsity matches. So all of our non-varsity games like Minecraft, etc., everybody plays in the same pool because there's not enough teams for varsity JV. And then at the end of the regular season, we take the best records and they go to state. For varsity, you play for 7 weeks. On the 8th week, you have divisional playoffs, which is a divisional based tournament. And then the top teams from each division then go to state, kind of similar to how high school sports works right now. And in the future, when we're at, 200, 300, 400 schools, I could see a future where those divisional playoffs are happening or hosted by a school or a location somewhere. Then that leads into our bigger finals. But that is not set up yet.
Awesome.
There was one question in chat. Will there be fees for League of Legends? So everybody knows, like I said, our fees are all paid for by our sponsors. With the new games coming in, I just need to make sure that our sponsors are on board for paying those fees. I would say there is a 90% chance that everything will continue to be free in our league. I will work very hard to make sure that that is the case. So Ken, I will tell you one thing, I will 100% guarantee we will not be priced at Play VS's level. It will be cheaper than every other league out there, period, if not free. And I am almost guaranteeing that it'll be free. I just need to make sure that those things are signed this summer to make sure that we can continue to be free. But our sponsors are very happy with their sponsorship. So I would anticipate that that will be the case.
Awesome. Very, very cool. So just kind of wrapping up a little bit here, you know, if there's schools that are watching today, or they're maybe watching the YouTube video after the fact, and they're wondering, you know, what is the, like, all this sounds great, but what are like my core benefits of being a member? And if I'm interested, how the heck do I join?
Yeah. Biggest benefits of being a member, of course, is that you have a full support system for your esports program. Not even just MNVL, but of the incredibly tight-knit group of coaches in the state. It is truly a community. We share everything. So it's like, hey, how do I get paid? How did you get paid at your school to be an esports coordinator? And you'll get sent like 4 different things, right? We'll send you grants. Coaches will send you grants that they've written. They'll send you, hey, this is how I got it added to Schedule C using our teacher contract and our union. Here's how we got admin involved at our school. Here's how we got a computer lab and got that set up. So there are a lot of resources that you'll get. Basically, it's a full encompassing resource on how to run your program. The other benefits of joining is that your students, you will see it. There's a reason we do this. There's a reason why there's a lot of people working a lot of extra hours for very little. And that is because you will see the incredible impact it has on a group of students that are traditionally underserved or are completely uncelebrated at their school. We see kids who there's some data points I'll throw at you. Annandale, a small school in Southwest Minnesota, had a esports informational meeting. They have 400 kids at their school. 65 people showed up with interest. Of those 65, over 35 of them had not been involved in any other school program in the past. So this is targeting school or people in school that are typically not involved. We see their grades go up. We see their graduation rates go up. At Concordia St. Paul, the esports team or program there has a graduation rate of 80% when the rest of the school has a 54% graduation rate. And then that's another big benefit is our players are actively recruited and playing in college. We have lots and lots, I mean, well over into the 10s or 20 students who are getting recruited on college scholarship. I personally have had over 10 students of mine from St. Louis Park get recruited to go to college. And I even have a professional team looking at one of my players right now. So you will see especially the socio-emotional benefits of these students who are typically isolated and drawn to video games, all of a sudden finding a community of their peers and people they get along with. The simple benefit of your students being happier at school is going to be what makes you want to do this year in and year out. But your school's benefits, you get to join this awesome community. It doesn't cost anything to you, and you get to see every benefit that can come out of it, from fundraising to making your programs more robust so they're not just competition. For example, my program, which has been running 5 years now, has a whole lot of other things added to it. We have social media managers, we have video editors, we have people who run our broadcasting and run our streams. We have graphic designers who are building our posts and stuff like that. We have coaches and alumni who are looking to coach afterwards and be involved in volunteering. So there's a lot of benefits to this type of program that are essentially what I say is sports plus activities, because this has the benefits of sports, the team building, friendships, adversities, learning adversity and reaction to setback, but also of activities and clubs with all those vocational skills that you get while part of them. How to join is pretty simple. You go on to our website and mnvl.org. There's a register tab there. And essentially right now for the summer, it's set up in one-on-one meeting with myself. and we'll get you set up for everything that you want, that you need to join. During the school year, we condense those into seminars where we'll onboard like 6 or 7 schools at once, just to save time, because it's all the same information. But basically, yeah, you contact us, and we'll get you through whatever step you're at. If you have an esports program ready to go, we'll get you signed up and ready to compete with us. If you've never heard about esports before in your life, we will teach you about esports. We'll show you how to run the program. We'll get you set up in the league, and we'll support you the entire way through. We do that every single season. It's what we do. It's literally our job to help you start and run your esports program. So we do that for free, of course, at no cost to your school. So that's how you join. Check out mnvl.org, or email me. You can just email me at jakeu@wisdom.gg. And there was one question: what platforms? Drop a link for what platforms for each game. You can check that. It's in mnvl.org/rules. You can see what platforms we support for each of our games. Typically it's PC, unless there's cross-platform available for that game. So cross-platform games would be Rocket League, which is all platforms, Halo, which is Xbox, and PC. Valorant is just PC, and I believe Minecraft is just PC.
Yeah.
Huh? Minecraft is Java version, so that is only PC. Bedrock is across all, so you do have to play Minecraft from PC. Super Smash Brothers is only on the Switch, so it's only Switch, and chess is just online using chess.com, so that's anything.
Awesome. Well, super great information, Jake. Thank you so much for sharing. Just to kind of transition a little bit into, if you're in kind of that situation of like, okay, this sounds great. MNVL, it's for me, we're going to join, but maybe we don't have a team yet. We're looking for some resources on how to get started. Jake's talked about all of the different services and help that they bring to the table, which is amazing. You can also go to bytespeed.com, and we've got a ton of other great resources that also link straight to MNVL's website, as well as other places for custom solutions, no matter where you're at in the process. I think one of the cool things about esports is that it can look different from school to school. And that's a good thing, because our schools are different, our students are different, the needs that we have are different. So to kind of help out with that, there's a lot of different places that people can come from. So with ByteSpeed, what we've done, and just kind of to help be a resource page and a place for information, if you go to bytespeed.com/gravity-gaming, we've got a ton of different links to stuff like previously recorded webinars, like Jake and I's conversation today. That's getting recorded. We'll put it up on our YouTube page. We've done this with the National Coaches Association. We've done it with different organizations out there that help with fundraising and sponsorship discussions. And, we had a couple of college coaches talk about recruiting and what that looks like in their world, and what your students might expect to see. So we've got a ton of information there that's all free and open and available to the public. We've got a great page for fundraising resources that links out to 60 or 70 different education STEM grants that you can use for equipment. If you're, needing to buy PCs or consoles or things that you might be able to dual purpose in the school, be able to use for, AutoCAD programs or Photoshop labs or whatever it might be. And then, oh, by the way, you've got the hardware you need to play esports at the end of the day. Along with a bunch of other things that we've just kind of tried to pull under one umbrella, link from our page to make sure that no matter where you're at in your esports journey, you can find the information that's relevant for you. So if I could say any one thing, make sure that you check out our esports page on bytespeed.com, just as a central hub for websites. And then Jake mentioned, mnvl.org.
Yep.
Yeah, for their website. We'll have a ton of stuff that's, Minnesota based and really relevant to where you guys are at as a school. On the hardware side of things, I do want to shout out Intel again real quick for helping to sponsor this. We've got a lot of really good hardware left. If you're in a situation where either you need to refresh stuff for next fall, or you're looking at starting a program and you're not sure where to go, but you need PCs to play some of the titles that Minnesota is running. So one real thing that's been super popular is our Extreme NUC PCs. They're 11th gen i7s that can be customized with a bunch of RAM and storage. And they have that 2060 discrete graphics that's going to run all competitive titles at a really, really good frame rate. We benchmarked them for Valorant when we first got them, and it ran 300 frames a second really, really consistently. And we've got 100 left at the warehouse in Moorhead, Minnesota that can ship in a week if we needed them to. So I just wanted to briefly shout that out. They've been really popular with our high schools actually over the last year and a half. You can see the Beaver Creek High School. That's an Ohio school, but we can get your logo on the side of the machine to kind of give you that customization, and they're small. So if space is a concern and you're in a facility that's tight and you need, to maximize the available space, these can either be, VESA mounted to the back of a monitor, or they can be, that small form factor right next to wherever station you're on. So these are great. We've loved them, and definitely something to keep in mind. Price on these it varies based on the configuration, but they're going to be very comparable to like a desktop tower, anywhere from $1,700 to $1,900 based on the guts of them. So they are a little bit more expensive, but that kind of leads me into the next conversation about 12th gen Intel, and something that we're super excited about for the rest of our lines is that Intel i3 2100. It might seem a little weird that I'm going to shout out an i3, but with first kind of looks at benchmarks and things, and kind of knowing that the cost of hardware has gone up pretty substantially over the last year, 2 years with COVID and supply chain issues and all that stuff. With 12th gen benchmarks and what's coming along, I think we're going to be able to slowly creep those prices down. That i3 is benchmarking at the level or above what 10th and 11th gen i5s were, which is kind of where we start a lot of people at with the configuration. This i3 is beating those previous generation processors. And I think my team is really excited because it looks like it's going to be a stud for gaming, paired with a really good graphics card, like a 1660 Super, 3060, something that's not going to break the bank, but it's going to give you the performance you need. We might be able to start seeing those desktop prices finally come back down and really help the accessibility for programs that are looking for hardware. Because that's always a number one concern, is like, well, this sounds awesome, but how the heck do we pay for it? It sounds expensive. It's something that we really want to get into our school, but that financial barrier to entry is always something to keep in mind. So with the 12th gen lineup, specifically on processors, $100 cheaper per processor with performance that's beating previous generations, like out of the water. Like I said, we're going to start to see stuff start to tick back down. I don't think we'll ever get back to the $1,000 gaming computer again, but we can get close. And that's definitely good for everybody, especially in the K-12 space where we have to maximize that budget. The rest of the lineup for 12th gen, i5, 7, 9, those are going to be rock stars for gaming. A little bit more expensive or kind of in that mid-range level that a lot of schools will go for, especially if it's like a dual purpose machine. But gaming on a budget, we have really strong hopes for that i3, and I'm really excited to help some more schools get in with a lower financial cost than what we've seen for the last 2 years, because I know that's definitely been a struggle for some schools here in the last couple of years. So I just briefly, we've got probably about 5 minutes left if there's questions or anything like that. But I would love, if anybody else on the webinar here live wants to throw a question in the Q&A or the chat, feel free to do that now. Me or Jay can answer your questions. If you're watching the YouTube video after the fact, drop those in the comments below and we'll get to that. And we just really want to make sure that all of your questions are answered, whether it's now or later. If you want to reach out and get a hold of us, both of our contact info is on the screen here. Office phone number, cell phone number for me, feel free to call, text, whatever works for you. We've got Minnesota Varsity League email and Twitter out there for Jake's contact information. And we really just appreciate everybody watching today. Jake, any final thoughts as far as like anything else you want to share or kind of quickly mention as we kind of wait and see if there's any other questions that come in?
Um, I mean, I will just mention as well, if this is a brand new thing for schools, some questions that I get consistently as two main ones that I think are really important for how you discuss with your parents who might be interested in having their students join. Number one is that, is this more screen time for my kids? I disagree. I do not think this is more screen time. In a lot of cases, you can't add screen time for some of these kids. It is not more screen time. It is putting structure around their screen time. You're taking a thing that is sometimes a waste of time. I mean, there's a lot of research around the emotional benefits of it, but can be a waste of time, and putting structure around it and making something incredibly positive out of that experience for your student. The second question I get a lot about is, what about these games that are first person shooters or violent video games? We're going to get a lot of blowback from parents on this. I can say in my 5 years of coaching at St. Louis Park, running first person shooter games, and my 3 years of running this league, I have not had one single parent complaint in all that time. Not from a league's perspective, not from a coaching perspective. Two reasons for that. The first one, I think, is the main reason, is if we do not provide these games for the students. We do not buy them. We do not purchase them. We're not giving them to them. So if a kid is playing a game for us, that means that they already have permission from their parents to play it. Not almost all of our players play from home. So that's one reason why you won't receive that parent blowback. The second reason, which why I think should be the most important reason, but just isn't, is that especially in scholarly and within schools in the academic space, is that there's absolutely no scholarly or peer-reviewed research to indicate that violent video games results in an increase in aggression or violent behaviors whatsoever within the people who play it. The only thing that has ever been recorded to increase aggression from video games is losing, and it did not matter the type of game. It could be Pac-Man or it could be Call of Duty. Losing makes people frustrated. Other than that, there is no link between that whatsoever. So we do get a lot of questions. Hey, what about these violent video games? First of all, our games are not that violent. They all have an none of them have an ESRB rating of mature. They all are teen or below. Now that Call of Duty is no longer part of our league due to Activision decisions. But even when there were, we were not receiving those complaints or issues. So that is just something that I see as a lot of schools try to spend quite a bit of time preparing for and worrying about, when in reality, you have very little to worry about in that arena.
Awesome. There was one quick question here, Jake. Any prediction on when esports will be recognized through the state high school sports leagues?
So that's a weird question, and one I get frequently, and something that I think comes from a large misunderstanding of how programs and things work within the state of Minnesota. The Minnesota High School League, MSHSL, is not the end all be all governing body of all things in the state. They govern sports. So if things are through your athletic department, and you want to be paid as a coach through the athletic department of your school, then it would have to be sanctioned by a Minnesota State High School League if your athletic department is under exclusive contract with them through your district. MSHSL, I'm going to get a little fired up on this because there was I received this question: when will it be an officially sanctioned thing? There is no officially sanctioned governing body within any activity or sport within Minnesota. If it is to say it is sanctioned is based on what your district decides. Every district is independent, and every district decides what is the sanctioned sport or activity. Meaning, are they paying for it? Is it on their Schedule C, or is it on their activities and athletics, basically contract, where they have paid positions for that district. So when you ask, will it be a officially recognized or sanctioned activity or sport, that is not based on the Minnesota State High School League. That is 100% based on your individual district. Right now, we are classified as an activity and club within Minnesota. So similar to DECA, similar to First Robotics, similar to the organization, I forget their name, that runs the band and band competitions. There is a lot of individual groups that are running activities and competition sports, math league, knowledge bowl, that are outside of the Minnesota State High School League system. They only run athletics. So that is a question I get all the time. When is this going to be officially sanctioned by this group? They are just a nonprofit or an organization, a group that runs sports, and your districts have decided to run with them. Same way that DECA, they don't run business competitions the way DECA does. Your district is likely has a relationship with DECA. With esports, it's Minnesota Varsity League currently. Minnesota State High School League has shown absolutely no interest in esports. I do have a meeting with their commissioner relatively soon. He emailed me back and said he wants to meet. I just am waiting on the follow-up. So there may be some partnerships with that going forward. I'm not sure, but sorry to end my rambling on this question. Every state does it differently. Iowa, their athletics association, their esports association just have an agreement to stay out of each other's business. There's another state where they are trying to work together. When it comes to esports, is it officially sanctioned? Well, does your district support it? If it is, that is officially sanctioned, and you decide who you compete with. So, even if Minnesota State High School League decided to run it, I'm fairly confident they wouldn't know how to run it very well, as well as us, just because we have 5 years of experience, and this would be something brand new to them. I'm hoping we can work together, be buddies on it, and figure out a way that we can coexist in a way that is beneficial towards our students, because I would argue that most of our teachers and students would be pretty upset if they just decided to not let us run esports anymore in Minnesota. So yeah,
Awesome.
That's a big question we get all the time.
Yeah, and great kind of background with how the state looks at it and how things are set up within districts and things like that. So I think that was the only question, Jake. So I just want to say once again, thank you so much for joining us this morning, sharing your time, giving us a little bit of the history and the background on MNVL. We're super excited to see more schools looking at esports and hopefully joining the league here in Minnesota and kind of continuing this big growth pattern that you've seen. And I just once again want to say thank you for taking your time out this morning and kind of sharing what you're all about. So.
No problem. And thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to me. I mean, if you made it this far on the recording or this far in the meeting, I really appreciate it. I know I tend to ramble and stumble over my words quite a bit. So thank you for listening.
And thanks again. One last real quick shout out to Intel. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's webinar and for supporting Scholastic Esports as a whole. Again, if anybody has questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below on the YouTube channel or get a hold of Jake or I through email, Twitter, whatever works best for you. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and we'll see you again soon.